This is Rockin' with J-Man. It's with Parris from Aggros. So how are you doing, man?
Just a second, sorry. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. How's life treating you?
Life is good, just busy. I work on a TV show called Evil. I'm a camera operator on that show, and we have about 2 weeks left of the season, and then I start rehearsing the band for a tour in July.
Is it a horror show?
Yeah, it is a horror show. It's a little fantastic, a little horror, a little comedy. It's about this group that within the Catholic Church that vets people, potential candidates for exorcism. And one of them's a skeptic, one of them's a priest, and one of them's a psychologist. So they try to figure out whether somebody's claim of demonic possession is genuine. And then there's, story arcs, personal story arcs with everybody there. And then there's a whole aspect of it, which is there's a like a corporation that's mission is to further the agenda of evil.
Wait, I know what you're talking. I think I've watched that TV show before. I used to watch it in 2020 during the quarantine. Isn't the girl like chased by a goat demon in the first season? Right?
Yes, yes, lots of demons.
Yeah. Wait, wasn't she possessed though too? Because when she put like the cross on her hand, it like burned or something.
Yeah, that's the show. It's developed quite a bit since then. I
Yeah.
didn't work on that first season. I worked on the last two seasons. That's the nature of the business that I work in. You get, depending on who the cinematographer of the show is, then they hire their crew, and I get hired by the cinematographer as the camera operator. And I was hired in the last two seasons. And
So,
prior to that, I was working on a new Walking Dead series called Dead City.
oh, damn, bro, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, when I'm not playing music, at least the job that I do also is creative and fun. Some shows are more fun than others, but working on a show like Evil is very fun because you're shooting demons and crazy shit like that. And the Walking Dead show was just spectacular to work on. Working with Jeffrey Dean Morgan was just awesome.
So about your new album, I always wondered when someone makes an instrument album about it. I wonder why they do it.
Well, I guess there's the reason why is no different than anybody making any kind of music. I don't really have a preconceived notion of how a song is supposed to be when I start writing it, because I usually just start playing my instruments for pleasure. And what you do is you just find yourself playing until you come across a combination of chords that you like, and then you expound upon it and it grows. And sometimes it can grow over many years, or sometimes you can finish the song completely. But oftentimes you don't have the end in mind. You just are going through the motions of enjoying playing music. And at some point it feels complete. And that feeling of completion depends on whether you can listen to it over and over and over and feel like there's nothing missing. Now, my approach to making this record was I don't sing. So I tried to create a conversation with the instruments. And and if I ever got to a point where I felt like none of the songs felt complete, I might have considered finding a singer to fill in that place where a singer would be. But what I did was with this record was I didn't leave a space for the singer. I made the conversation happening with the instruments, which isn't a unique thing. I mean, there's instrumental music from the beginning of time. Most classical music is instrumental.
Now, I heard you pieced this album all together, like played one part here and the other part there. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. Initially, like I said, I wasn't writing these songs with the sense that I was going to make an album or have a band. I was just writing them for myself. And so if I discovered that I found a friend of mine like Pete Asarisi, who plays the drums on Ghosts of New York, or the drummer who played on Best Destiny and Chaos Magic, were friends of mine, and I ended up just playing with them. Same thing with Roy Mayorga from Stone Sour. I just happened to be out in LA. I brought my guitar with me, and he saw that I posted on Facebook that I had just landed at LAX, And he just sent me a text. He's like, "Hey man, you're in town, right?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Did you bring your guitar?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, come over to my house tomorrow and let's jam." And I said, "Fucking A." So me and my wife went over, and I went out in his backyard studio and we jammed for about 2 or 3 hours. And I showed him the parts to Fear View Mirror. And at the end of that jam, we were able to play the song from beginning to end. And he said to me, he goes, "Hey, you want to record it? This is a recording studio too. This is where we record all the Stone Sour stuff." And I said, "Yeah, of course." And he rolled the tape and we did a couple of versions of it. And then he just handed me a thumb drive, and it was the Pro Tools session on the thumb drive. And I said, "This, I can have the session?" He was, "Absolutely." He goes, "Here you go." And I took it home and I threw it in my drawer of my desk, and it was sat there for like 4 or 5 years. And well, because at that time I was playing with Cobbs, he was playing drums, and I didn't feel like it was right to use a song that a different drummer played on. I'm just loyal that way. And then me and Cobbs ended up recording tracks where it was just me and him playing because, I had the song structure together. And the thing is, when you make a recording, what you really have to do is get the drums perfect because the drums is the foundation. You can build anything on top of that. You can change everything, you can edit it, but the drums have to be perfect. So I got Cobbs to record me 3 perfect drum tracks. And then I got my friend Pete Asarisi to record me 1 perfect drum track. And then I had a drum track with Dave DeCenzo. So there's 5 drummers on the album. And one of the songs, City Kids, is 3 songs put together. And so there are 2 different drummers within the same song.
Now, how are you able to do that? Do you have like everything just in your head, like the way it should be?
To a large extent, what you might call the skeleton of a song, you lay out with the drums and the guitar. And you can always go in and edit and say, "Oh, the chorus, I wish it was twice as long." And you can just make an edit and then copy the chorus and add it over, and you can just make the chorus twice as long or make it half as short. And I certainly did that. I recorded and edited these songs many times. I even edited the Chaos Magic song while I was editing the music video because I felt like once I had all the visuals in, I felt like the pace was wrong. So I shortened the intro a little bit. I shortened some of the parts towards the end in the video. So I just actually cut into the mixed track. And then when I put the video out, I was like, "Oh no, shit, now I got to go back into the studio and edit the Pro Tools session the way I edited the music video." And that gave me an excuse to bring in Chuck Lenahan, the guitar player, because I don't know if you're aware, but when I first put out Chaos Magic as a single, that was all I had put out, and there was no guitar solo on it. But on the album, I enlisted my friend Chuck Lenahan to play guitar on that song. So I had the excuse that I wanted Chuck to play on it. So I went into the studio, edited the song to the way it was in the music video, and I had Chuck play on it, and that's the way it is on the album. So things can change. The thing about not being on a record label is I don't have to ask anybody permission. I can do lots of things on a whim, which is the most important thing to do in art, is to follow your instincts and go with your whims. And that's what I was able to do.
What does Aggros mean?
Aggros is like, it's short for like, um, you know, being being powerful and in a very um, well in an aggressive way. Aggro is kind of short for aggressive, but I always thought of the word as being plural. Not just to be aggro, but to be an aggro. So I made it plural, aggros, which would be kind of like my fans would be the aggros.
Do you still make music videos? Because I know you made some great ones, man, for like bands like Biohazard and Public Enemy.
I do from time to time. The music business is very different than it was when I was making music videos as for a living. Because there's MTV doesn't exist anymore, so there's really no outlet and a reason for record labels to spend the kind of money that they used to on smaller bands. Of course, big bands like Jay-Z and stuff will make videos. So I'm not. I definitely left that as a career behind to work on in television and movies. But from time to time, and it's very also, it's a labor of love when you're not getting paid the same amount. Like when I was making a living doing videos for Biohazard and Typo Negative, it was just my living. So if I choose an artist to do a video for now, it's a lot of work for not a lot of pay, and it's hard to commit myself to the amount of time it would take to do a music video and take work off a television show. You know what I mean? Because that's really the choice I have to make. I am making that choice to take time off television to tour and make records. That's different because that's a labor of love. It's not just another professional job. But I did do a video just before the pandemic for a female pop artist named M, and it was mostly because of the way she approached me. Her mom manages her. It was a total DIY thing, which I could identify with. They were paying for the video themselves out of their pocket, which to me was kind of terrifying because when a record label gives you $50,000 and says make something, you're like, it's a corporation. You don't have to worry about the money, and you can just concentrate on being creative. But when some girl comes to you with their mom and they're taking money out of their purse and handing it to you and saying, this is like our savings. Can you make a music video for us? It's kind of terrifying. But I made a video for her and I love it. And she's already up to 1 million views on YouTube for that video. And I really love the video. I had a lot of really cool ideas about her singing in drops of water in a window pane that she's looking at herself. It came out really beautiful. If you get a chance to see, I don't know if you'll be into that kind of pop music, but it's definitely an interesting video. And of course, I get to make the videos for myself. I mean, I loved making Chaos Magic and I loved making City Kids. And I put so much work into it, like more work than I've ever done on anything in my life. So I hope people see it and understand the kind of effort that went into it.
Are you a fan of hip hop or just a fan of paychecks?
A fan of getting a paycheck, you mean?
Yeah, or a fan of paychecks. Do you know what I'm talking about or no?
No, I don't.
My bad. Sorry.
It's okay. You can explain it to me. I'm willing to learn.
Yeah, I'm talking about like paychecks. Yeah, money.
uh, are you asking if I did those videos just to get paid?
Yeah.
Uh, no, I, you know, I I definitely learned of a philosophy of being able to be an artist and survive as an artist when my father said to me, you have to figure out a way to monetize your talents. When I was very young, he would see me drawing all the time. And, my father was never the kind of person who was like, you got to get a job, you got to do this, you got to go to college. He said to me, you have to learn how to monetize your talents. And to a large extent, that's exactly what I've done. Less so with music, but as a I have a degree in fine arts, but I didn't go into the art field. I went into the film business, and I'm able to make a living from doing it. But every job that I do, every time I pick up a camera, every time I come up with an idea or a concept, it's still a creative process, and I turn off any motivation that has anything to do with money. And it's no different than picking up a pad and paper or a guitar and just trying to make the best thing you could possibly make. So when I was doing hip hop videos, every job that I did, every Onyx video, every Run DMC, everything that I did, that was the most important thing to me at the time. And I just did the best I possibly could. And I was lucky to have worked with great artists like Biohazard and Psycho Negative and Run DMC and Onyx and King's X and all those bands that I got to do. It was a pleasure. But Onyx was nobody when I went in to do that video. It wasn't like I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to do this famous band's video. They were nobody. When they sent me the track initially, it was like a rough mix. It didn't even sound like the way the hit record Onyx Slam did. So I just kind of just took it, listened to it, immersed myself into it, and did the best thing I could. And the next thing you know, it was the biggest video in the world.
You miss the guys from CRO-MAGS?
Do I miss the guys from CRO-MAGS? I don't.
No.
No.
What
I, I,
happened?
I miss the experiences we had in our youth that I thought would have led to a prosperous artistic life together. But that is just kind of like being attached to an expectation I had when I was young, which I definitely attached to them. And it didn't turn out that way. So I am able to release any of that nostalgia feeling that I might have had towards them, and I don't miss them at all.
What happened there and why did you leave?
I left because it wasn't a reciprocal happy relationship. And if you're going to be in a relationship with people for life, you have to cooperate with each other, and you have to care about each other and cater to their needs, and they'll cater to your needs. And it's just like any long-term relationship. You have to, it has to be reciprocal, and it wasn't. And I was like the primary music contributor to the band, but you know, I was always made to feel marginalized, and that's just not a healthy way to do things. And I was able to just sidestep and do a lateral move into the film business and still have a creative, lucrative life, but without people trying to marginalize me. And it wasn't, and I fell right into the film business because I love making film. And I didn't even think about the fact that I wasn't doing music anymore because I was still creative. It was just, I felt like I was continuing to do the thing that I do, which is sit and focus and try to make something really good. I just wasn't making music anymore. And then flash forward a couple of years, and I find myself in a very comfortable position working in the film business, and I have time and the money to finance my own musical project. So, and I had all these songs that I'd written over the years that I didn't write intentionally. I just did it for the love of it. And I had this stockpile of songs, and I realized, holy, I could make an album, and I could finance it myself, and I could make it exactly the way I want. And no one will marginalize me. No one will second guess any of the decisions I made. And the payoff of that is the positive, overwhelmingly unanimous positive response I've gotten to the album. It's like I couldn't hope for more.
But you still own the rights to their website, do you?
I have the website CRO-MAGS.com, but they have another website. It's just a web address.
Would you ever rejoin them?
Never.
Never?
No interest. And especially now that I put this record out, the thing is, the only interest I would have had, like, 10 years ago, my answer might have been different. I always kind of had like some kind of in the back of my mind attachment to that idea, because it's not so much returning to them. It should be just returning to the music that I made. The CRO-MAGS was my vehicle for my expression. When you listen to Age of Quarrel, Best Wishes, or Revenge, you're listening to me. But unfortunately, I was tied to them, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. But now I have another vehicle for my music, so I've completely lost any attachment or any feeling like I have to return to that other music that I played, because I have this now, and it's exactly the same. It's my songs. I can play it my way, and I don't have to bring people along on my trip that won't be happy doing it. I don't understand why people wouldn't be ecstatic to have an artist life, but those guys just were obstacles to any joy that you could have playing music. And I hope that's not too long an answer, but that's really, you have to use that many words to express it. I could probably talk about it all day, but I'd rather talk about the Aggros or Marilyn Manson on your wall.
Do you plan on going on tour this year?
Yeah, I have a little tour booked already, starting July 5th here in Brooklyn, New York at St. Vitus. And then we're going to go up the East Coast and up into Canada, down through Chicago, a quick 2-week small leg of a tour, while my booking agent is looking for more. And that's the nature of the way tours are booked. You book little legs at a time that are all back to back. And, if you ended up on tour for 6 months, it's still a bunch of small legs. So the first leg is booked, and I'm working on more.
What do you think about ticket prices getting super high for a lot of bands? Are you worried for that?
I mean, I'm not worried about it. I'm kind of disgusted by it. The way tickets have been monopolized, corporatized, and then they built in this system of reselling tickets, which is ticket scalping, but it's legal, and it's done by the people that are originally selling the tickets. So they basically pretend to put tickets on sale. They buy them up themselves, and then they resell them again, the same people, for astronomical prices. When I was a kid and when I was your age and wanted to go to a concert, I had to go someplace and stand online. It was called Ticketron. And you'd get there at like 5 o'clock in the morning, there'd already be 100 people online. And everybody, it was first come, first serve. Whoever got online, and you got a ticket. And every ticket from the front row to the back row was the exact same price. There was none of this like front row is more than the back. Or, if you have an American Express card, you can get the first 5 rows, but nobody else can get access to that. It's really an elitist, horrible, discriminatory against poor people system. If it used to be, if you were ambitious and you really wanted to see a concert, all you had to do was wait online and you could spend the same money as everybody else and get that front row ticket to see your favorite band. Now people aren't having that same experience unless they're wealthy. That is completely unfair.
I mean, I wanted to see Pantera this year, and they're charging like $300 a ticket, and that's not even for the best seats. And the worst seats are $100. I mean, like, who wants to do that?
And of course you can't point the finger at Pantera because they don't really have a choice. It's the system. Even if you just go down to, you take what I just said about showing up online and buying a ticket, they just hand you a piece of paper and you take it to the concert. Now it's like all these fake fees. Like if Ticketron or any of these ticket outlets decides, let's just add $1 to every ticket. And then they sell 1 million tickets in that year. That's an extra $1 million that they got for doing nothing. And there are all sorts of fees just tacked on. They learned this from the credit card companies when they suddenly was like, I remember like I had a credit card and then one day I get my bill and it says administration fee $2. Like, what the hell is an administration fee? And then next thing you know, like, and they have like 50 million customers, so now they have $100 million for nothing. And it's basically they're doing the same kind of thing with ticket prices, and it's just completely unfair. And unfortunately, you think it reflects on the artist, but it really doesn't. It's not like they have a choice. It's not like they can rebel and say we're not going to do it that way, because that's how the system is set up. And if you don't cooperate with the system, you can't play those venues. It's a monopoly.
What's the best venue you've ever played?
There's a lot of great venues. I always enjoyed playing the Ritz in New York City on 11th Street. It's now called Webster Hall. That was kind of a, when the CRO-MAGS first started playing around, there were millions of clubs in New York City. And you'd play all these little clubs that were all kind of the same level. And but when you kind of like reached a little higher level, you would go play at the Ritz. And the Ritz became kind of like our go-to place where we always played. And the sound was great. And there was a balcony with seats and everybody would sit, and you didn't have to be a VIP to get a table. You could manage to get a table and just sit there without having to spend a ton of money the way things are now. Like in clubs now, they're like, oh yeah, you can sit down, but it's an extra $100 per ticket to sit down at a table. Or if you could sit on a bar stool, we'll only charge you 80. It's insane. It's very unfair.
What?
It's very unfair.
Yeah, it's super unfair, man. What's the worst venue you've ever played, though?
Well, that's we played shows in little small towns in Texas where the stage collapsed under us while we were playing. That it was just like a bunch of milk crates on the ground covered by plywood, and you get on it and like at first you're like, oh, it's a little wobbly, and you get excited and you're jumping around on stage. And the next thing you know, the stage is moving. I remember seeing Biohazard and seeing the entire stage collapse underneath them. It was insane and it was a big professional stage made with like, proper girders and metal and all that kind of shit, but the thing totally collapsed. But we played a bunch of places like that. But, even in that context, I can't even use the word worst because every gig is great. You have a great time at every gig. And sometimes you might pull up and unload the gear. And when you see one of these places in daylight, you have this, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm playing this place. But when the sun goes down and the place fills up with people smiling at you and you just start playing your music, it's all the same. It's all Webster Hall for me.
Did you ever have a crazy interaction with a fan?
When didn't I? I used to get letters from this guy who used to draw goats' heads and talk about how Satan instructed him to contact me, and he had some kind of crazy name. Like this is back when people used to write paper letters. I must have got 50 letters from this guy, and they were all about Satan. And another time I started getting letters from this girl, and she was like sending me pictures of herself in like her pajamas, and she had like these bunny feet on them. And my girlfriend would be like, "Oh, you got another letter from Buddy Slippers," and we'd sit there, and it was always just like stuff like, "Oh, who's your favorite band? What's your favorite color?" It was like all like very strange, like normal kid stuff. And then, 10 years later, I'm in a bar in New York City, and there's this girl sitting next to me and my girlfriend on a bar stool, and she turns to me and she's like, "Are you Paris?" And I go, "Yes." And my girlfriend goes, "Oh my God, it's Bunny Slippers." So and that's not like a weird encounter, but I've had encounters with, I mean, when I basically broke up the CRO-MAGS, there was a big schism in with our fans where people took sides, where uh, I might have forced some fans to take other people's in the band's side against me because they viewed me as the one who ended it, which is true, but they didn't take into consideration why and all that kind of stuff. And I've been confronted a couple of times by groups of people who, when they first came up to me, they were really mad, and they wanted to. They basically said, your music changed my life, but you ended the band, and we want to punish you for it. And I was like, so you're saying that my music changed your life? And they're like, yeah. I said, so you know who I am, and I had this positive effect on your life, but I don't know who you are, and you're coming up to me and you're telling me you want to punish me. And they're like, oh, yeah. And I said, you should be buying me drinks. You want to buy me a drink? And then you see them like totally change their demeanor, and they're like, okay. I was able to diffuse those situations because the truth was they were just feeling very passionate, and they didn't know how to channel that passion, and they got angry. But when they saw me face to face, it was kind of easy to diffuse. But you have those kinds of things all the time. It's just, people are emotional. You can almost say to yourself, well, I I got an intense emotional response from these people with my music, and they feel so attached to it that when they feel like it was put in danger by me, that they got mad at me. That's strange, but at least I know how to powerful effect on people.
So you got a whole bunch of money from people. You were like, yeah, you hate me, but how about you buy me this game right here? How about you buy me this,
Well, it wasn't quite like that. I was just trying to put it in a context. I was like, if you're telling me that you love what I did for you, why don't you buy me a drink instead of getting mad at me?
Well, you should have said, how about you buy me this TV to prove how much you love me? Just prove it.
Well,
Buy me the TV.
there's plenty of that too, where people offer up all kinds of things, and you have to tell them that saying thank you is plenty, and buying a record is even better. I don't need anything else besides that.
What is your
I
favorite
understand what you're saying.
what
What's my favorite what?
memory from playing a show?
Ah, I mean, I have so many great memories. It's just kind of like a blur of of satisfaction, because like I said, you spend all this time playing, just playing your guitar for the pleasure. You discover a chord and another chord that somehow becomes a song. And I'm talking about like sitting in my mother's kitchen after school and coming home and picking up my guitar. And the next, I'm nobody knows who I am, but I'm sitting in my mom's kitchen forging these songs, and I'm just doing it for myself. And then somewhere down the line, I end up making a record, and somehow people like it, and I'm touring the world, and I'm standing on stage, and people are going crazy over it. That is the most satisfying, validating thing of your artistic sensibilities that there possibly could be. So every time I was on stage playing those songs, I felt that way. But of course, there were times where I looked off to the side of the stage, and my friend Phil Anselmo from Pantera was standing on the side of the stage singing along. Or when we toured with Motorhead, and Lemmy came out and stood in the wings and watched us play every night for 2 months. So I had that same feeling of satisfaction with all these, all the fans enjoying themselves, which is the best reaction you can get to your music. But then to see someone you looked at as an idol, Lemmy was definitely an idol of mine. Or Phil from Pantera, or the guys in Sepultura, any number of bands that I respect that turned out to like my music as much as I like that. That was extremely gratifying.
What is your worst memory from playing a show?
What's my worst memory from playing a show?
Yeah.
Uh, Probably could say the last CRO-MAGS gig, just standing on stage, knowing that I was just biding my time, and looking around. Like I was literally like playing and looking into my left. I'm like, oh, that guy, I'm never going to be on stage with that guy again. Oh, that guy, I'm not going to be on stage with that guy. So it was kind of like a deflating, you know, it just, it was sour, but you can't just leave. Promoters depend on you. Like if you've agreed to do a show, these promoters that do a lot of these shows, a lot of times they've sunk everything they have in every show, and then whatever they make, they go to the next, they move on to the next show, and they invest the money that they made on that one into the next one. And that's what allows them to continue on. They're not like making a lot of money out of this stuff, and you cancel one show and you can destroy them. So I definitely took that in consideration, even when I knew I was going to leave. So I didn't leave before the commitments that I made were fulfilled, because I didn't want to damage anybody's livelihood.
What do you do on your downtime for fun?
Downtime. Wow, I wish I had downtime. Um, I Whatever time that I have, I spend with my wife, Barblin, and we just figure out things to do. We go to a lot of concerts. Most people go on vacations. We always say we spend money on concert tickets because, as we discussed, they're so expensive. We love going to concerts, uh, going to eat, just doing stuff together. It doesn't matter what it is. But I mean, I obviously also play music, in my downtime, which I take piano lessons. I had a piano lesson an hour ago, and I told them I had to start the piano lesson early because I had to talk to you. And when we're done, I'll get back on the piano. I'll get back on the guitar. I'll get back on that bass. I've had this guitar since I've had this all my life. It was like our house guitar. It's from 1958. My dad bought it, and he had it before I was born, and now it's mine. And my G&L and my Fender P bass. I play them all. When I sit down and play the bass, I'm a bass player. When I sit down and play my acoustic guitar, I'm an acoustic guitar player. When I sit down and play my electric guitars, I'm pretty much me. But you have to kind of like apply yourself to each instrument. If you are a multi instrumentalist, most people just focus on one. But when I sit down and play my bass, I'm only a bass player.
Wait, can you play the piano right now? Can you play me a song?
I play you a few chords. Oop, that's the wrong chord.
Yeah.
Just a new idea for a song I'm working on.
It sounds really good, man.
Thank you.
No problem. So, how long have you been taking the piano?
I started right about at the beginning of the pandemic. I had a Rhodes piano in storage for many, many years. And then me and my wife got a house. And then I asked her, I was like, hey, do you mind if I put the Rhodes in the living room? Even though I didn't play. And it's a beautiful instrument. So she was like, yeah, absolutely. So we put the Rhodes in the living room. And then a couple of days later, I got a text from her, and it says, you have a piano lesson tomorrow at 3 o'clock. You can't have a Rhodes in the living room and not know how to play it. So I started taking piano lessons, and I've been taking piano lessons about once a week since the pandemic. And once I felt like I was proficient enough, where I don't try. It's just the same way I told you my philosophy about playing guitar was. I don't learn how to play other people's songs. I just apply myself to my own songs. It's the same with the piano. I just use it to compose, like that thing. I couldn't sit down and play a Beatles song for you, but I can sit down and play you a song I wrote.
How do my followers follow you?
What's that?
How do my followers follow you?
Oh, you could go to Barblin. I'm on Facebook, and my name is Parris Mayhew, Parrismayhew. And I'm on it. What's that? And I also have an Aggros page. It's called Aggros Army, which is what I call the fans at my Aggros Army. Uh, and I'm on Instagram as Parris Mayhew as well. And if anybody what's that? Oh yes, definitely go to YouTube, youtube.com/the Aggros, and you can see the Chaos Magic music video and the City Kids music video, which is also 3 songs. And that's a great way to introduce yourself to the band. And then after you've seen the videos, if you're interested in the records, I have my new album, Rise of the Aggros, on CD and vinyl. And we are going to be launching a Bandcamp page at the end of the month. So that would be Bandcamp Aggros. And yeah, that's how you do it.
You guys have any cool merch?
Oh yeah. Let me see. Hold on. This one's my favorite. It's like a baseball shirt.
Oh, that looks really cool.
Yeah, I
Wait,
love it. It's brand new. And then we just have the regular logo shirt, which most people get. And then we have hoodies and beanies and, and the record. It's the most important thing. But I really like the baseball shirt.
could you please hook up your boy with some fresh gear? School's still here, and I need some
Okay,
fresh.
you're right. I can.
Thank you, bro.
Sorry, your mom in the background. Sorry.
No, no, we can be family friendly, and then we can be totally different. So it's your choice.
Absolutely cool.
But don't be saying like slurs. Don't go crazy now.
Don't do what?
Don't go crazy. Just don't say like yeah. I'm just joking with you, man. I was just teasing.
Cool.
So fun question time. You're on death row, and it's time for a final meal. What's on the menu?
Pizza.
So,
I mean, it's like I'm a vegan, so I usually don't eat cheese, but I will always find myself standing on a street corner with a slice of pizza in my hand, half eaten, and go, "Oh shit, I'm not supposed to eat this." I love pizza.
do you just like throw the pizza on the ground, or you just like?
No, I eat it.
But okay, so now it's death row and time's over. How are you going out?
Oh, fighting.
There.
Definitely going out fighting because I got too much to do.
So how are you gonna die though? Like, are you just gonna die like by a shank?
No, I'm not going to die. They're going to die. This is the best interview I've ever done.
You looked at me stone cold like they really are. You're just gonna pull out a gun. I ain't going out. My katana.
Whatever's close at hand. Pen. Anyway, skip that part.
It's okay. If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
Superpower. No. Immortality.
Immortality? That's a good answer. Like live forever or like don't feel pain. Like you can always regenerate.
Live forever, but I guess just like anything else, if living forever is not a good thing.
Yeah, some people say like immortality is a bad thing because like some people will just say at the end of like humanity, you'll just be like floating in space because like Earth ends. But we'll be
Quality of
on
life.
Mars, hopefully. We'll be on Mars. So
There you go. But quality of life, if you had immortality, it would have to be quality of life and a good life.
okay, now let's say you could choose any song ever written by any band and you can change that song for you were the one who wrote it and it was your song. What song would it be and why?
I guess I don't really think in those terms. What I do is I try to aspire, as opposed to this idea of taking credit for if I was able to, no one would know type thing. I don't think that would really interest me, but I would certainly aspire to write something as timeless and beautiful as any song by Led Zeppelin.
Well, thank you for being on my show. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, man. And you have a nice night. And you keep working on the piano, bro. I promise you, you'll be a master at the piano.
And then I will take your advice and do that. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me as well.
Nah, man, it's been my pleasure, bro. Thank you.
I'm
Have a
glad.
good one, bro. See
You
ya.
too. Bye bye.
Peace.